Many years ago, in the lively city of Enugu, there lived a woman who was fondly called Mama Ifunanya by everyone. She was a proud Igbo woman with one son, Ekene. Ekene was the apple of her eyes, the crown on her head. After her husband died in a tragic motor accident years ago, Mama Ifunanya poured all her love, hopes, and dreams into her son Ekene. She worked day and night selling foodstuffs at Ogbete market just to see him through school. So when he graduated with flying colors and started his own thriving business, she was very happy and she clung to him tighter than ever. Ekene was her life, her only son, and only investment. Ekene was every woman's dream. He was tall, handsome, respectful, and rich. But he had just one problem: his mother. At 34 years old, can you imagine that Ekene was not married? Not because he did not want to, but because Mama Ifunanya rejected every single woman that he brought home. To her, no one was good enough for her son. No one had the right character, the right family background, or the right manners. She would usually find fault in every single thing that all the women did. The first girl, Kosiso, she complained that Kosiso was too quiet, that she doesn't talk. And when Ekene brought home the second girl, Ogechi, she complained that Ogechi laughed too much. Does she know that marriage is not a comedy show? Mama Ifunanya would say. And when Ekene still brought a beautiful, well-mannered girl named Chizaram, she complained. In short, she called a family meeting. I had a dream. I saw a snake in the compound. The snake is very big. And I believe that this girl that you want to marry, she's that snake. She's a spiritual wife to somebody. And Ekene, if you marry her, your business will collapse entirely. Mama Ifunaya announced at the family meeting. The whole family by this time was tired of her drama. But who could dare challenge her? She had a way of making people feel foolish just by looking at them. Ekene, on the other hand, was growing tired. Deep down, he wanted love. He wanted a home, a home that was filled with laughter, children, and peace. But every single time he came close to finding a wife that would give him that, his mother would tear it down with her words and suspicions. One evening, Ekene called his mother and sat her down and said, Mama, I just want to marry and be happy. Is that too much to ask? Ekene said, looking worried. But his mother simply replied and said, My son, I also want you to be happy. And I'm telling you that you will be happy. You see, when we find the right girl, a girl with sense, a girl who knows how to respect her elders, a girl that can cook with charcoal and not gas, then you will get married. But until then, I have to open my eyes and look out for you so that a hawk does not come and steal you away. Mama Ifunaya replied sweetly. Ekene knew exactly what his mother meant. He knew that it was just another tactic to delay him, another reason to reject any girl that he wanted to marry. So things continued like this for a while. One day, Ekene had to travel down to Abuja all the way from Enugu. He had a business meeting with high-profile northern investors about a real estate project. The trip was meant to be all business, strictly work. But unknown to Ekene, fate had other plans for him. So after a long day of negotiations with the investors, Ekene decided to just go and chill at a small mall. And that was when he met a beautiful young woman whose name was Amina. Amina was seated in the same cafe at the end of the room. She looked so beautiful. Ekene could not withstand it. So he approached her table and introduced himself. Hi, beautiful lady. My name is Ekene, and I came all the way from Enugu. May I know you? Ekene said with a warm smile. Amina simply stared at him shyly and then said, good evening, sir. My name is Amina, she replied. Amina was so soft spoken, and Ekene was very happy about it because in his mind, This was the kind of woman that his mother had always claimed that she wanted him to marry. A woman that looked humble, reserved, and traditional. And Amina looked exactly like what his mother would approve of. So they talked for hours that evening. Amina told him everything about her background, how she grew up in Kano before she moved to Abuja with her aunts after losing both parents. She also shared with him her dreams of starting a business of her own, and Ekene was impressed. In short, by the end of their conversation, he was completely smitten. So they went ahead and exchanged numbers. And they began to call each other, and from calls, they began to visit. And from visiting, Ekene and Amina fell head over heels in love with themselves. So one day, Ekene decided to inform Amina about his mother. Amina, I love you. I love you so much. But my only fear is my mother. My mother is a very traditional Igbo woman, and I really don't know how you're going to cope with her. Oh." Ekene said, looking worried. But Amina simply smiled and said, Don't worry, Habamana. Calm down. I know how to handle such mothers. Ekene stared in shock. Did she just say handle? He thought to himself, but he waved it off. Amina looked too gentle, too respectful. He was sure that she meant that she would try her best to win over his mother with kindness. So he brushed the comment aside. So back in Enugu, when Ekene told his mother that he had met someone and that her name was Amina, that she was a northerner, as usual, his mother was not impressed. Another one, and an outside girl for that matter, Abokina. So you want to bring someone that does not understand our ways to this house? Wonders shall never end. Mama Ifunaya said, with an air of disgust around her. Ha, Mama, calm down. I'm telling you, this girl is different though. She's respectful, Mama. As a matter of fact, she kneels to greet. She cooks very well. And I was even surprised that she can speak a little Igbo. Mama Bikonu, just give her a chance. Ekene said, pleading with his mother. Okay, oh, I will try. But first, does she wear trousers? Or does she answer back when elders talk to her? Does she even know how to cook ofe onubu? Ofe oha? Mama Ifunanya asked. No, Mama. She does not wear trousers. And she doesn't talk back at elders. That I can guarantee you. And yes, Mama, she can cook. I don't know how she learned it, but she knows how to cook our native soups. Ekene replied happily. So Mama Ifunanya agreed to see her. So a few weeks later, Amina came down all the way from Abuja to see her future mother-in-law. When Amina arrived at their home, she knelt at the compound gate to greet Mama Ifunaya. She even washed her clothes by hand. She pounded yam with a mortar until her hands turned red. She even sat beside Mama Ifunaya during evening gist, nodding like an obedient servant. At this point, Mama Ifunaya was totally sold. She was smitten by her. She fell head over heels in love with Amina. She began to tell all her neighbors about her. Amina is the kind of girl that I've been praying for my son. She's obedient, she's respectful, not like these Enugu girls that don't know their left from their right. This one is a wife material. In short, I will give her 1 million yards. Mama Ifunaya said proudly to her neighbors. Ekene was so happy. He had never seen his mother approve of anybody so quickly. He was also skeptical that this one was too easy, too perfect. But then he let it slide. He was just happy that his mother liked Amina and now he could go ahead and marry her and start a family of his own. So the wedding was scheduled within 2 months. Mama Ifunaya was full of joy and pride. She continued bragging to anyone that cared to listen. My daughter-in-law is not from here. Oh. She behaves better than all these local girls. Can you imagine? She wakes up before morning. She cleans the whole house. Do you even know that she knows how to cook with firewood? We have gas, so she will say, no, 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 Mama, let us not waste gas. Let us use firewood. I'm happy. My son has found me a good wife, Mama Ifunaya said proudly. Everybody was shocked. that Mama, for the first time, was happy and approved her son's choice of a wife. Is this really you, Mama Ifunanya? You are allowing your son to get married. Hallelujah. Her relatives said, looking shocked. Yes, so this wedding will take place. You see, this is my daughter-in-law. She's not like the rest, oh. God has finally blessed me, oh. Mama Ifunanya replied with her head held high. But what no one knew, what even Ekene did not suspect, was that all this while, Amina had been studying his mother. Every time she insulted a housemaid, or raised her voice unnecessarily, or anytime she made passive comment to test her, Amina was just logging it into her mental journal. Amina decided to play the long game. She realized that Mama Ifunanya was a troublesome woman. So she smiled, she cooked, and she endured. What Mama Ifunanya did not know was that she was pretending. Amina was getting ready for her. So 1 week before the wedding, preparations were in full force. Ekene paid for every single thing. The decorations, the food, drinks, and even new clothes for his mother. Everything was going just smoothly. Until one day, just a day before the wedding, Amina told her mother-in-law, Mama Ifunanya, to please show her around the compound. There were old houses that were not yet occupied in the compound. Mama Ifunanya was surprised at her request, but agreed regardless. She was just so pleased by Amina that she would literally do anything that she asked of her. So as she went around showing her the old house, when they got to a dirty, abandoned old toilet, Amina pushed her mother-in-law inside and locked the door. Mama Ifunanya screamed and banged on the door, but no one could hear her. Amina left with a mischievous grin on her face. Mama Ifunanya screamed and screamed, but no one heard her. She was inside the dirtiest, smelliest toilet in the compound, one that even the house rats avoided. Chineke, Ekeneo, somebody help me. This girl has killed me. This girl that I took as my daughter. Mama Ifunanya said, screaming at the top of her lungs. But no one came to her rescue. The following morning was the wedding day. Amina dressed so nicely and went for her wedding. Ekene, on the other hand, was worried. He had not seen his mother all through the day and all through the ceremony. And when he asked Amina, she said she hadn't seen her either. So Ekene and Amina got married, and his mother was absent all through the ceremony. Amina smiled mischievously. She was happy because she knew what she had done. Meanwhile, Mama Ifunanya sat trapped in the toilet, sweating and praying for deliverance. Flies were just roaming around her. Mama Ifunanya was in tears. She could not believe that she had missed her beloved son's wedding. She could not believe that her daughter-in-law that she was praising could do this kind of mean thing to her. So the next morning, after the wedding day, one of the little cousins ran to the backyard and heard banging from the old toilet. And that was how Mama Ifunanya was rescued. She came out looking all dirty and smelling. Everyone was shocked. Mama, what happened? How did you get trapped in that old abandoned dirty toilet? Ekene asked, looking horrified. Mama immediately turned sharply to Amina, who stood there watching and pretending as if she did not know what happened. It is her. She was the one that locked me there. Mama Ifunanya screamed angrily. Amina screamed and said, What? Mama, how can you say that? Why would I do such a thing? To the best mother-in-law in the whole world, what will I gain? My mother is dead. You're the only mother that I have now. Amina said, feigning ignorance. Ekene looked at Amina, then looked at his mother. He did not know who to believe. Mama, do you think that Amina would lock you in a toilet? Amina loves you too much. Are you sure you did not go there by mistake? Ekene asked kindly. His mother at this point lost her temper. Are you mad? Have you lost your senses? I am your mother, for God's sake. I'm telling you that this foolish girl tricked me and locked me in that old toilet, and you're here saying, did I walk into that place mistakenly? Ekene, are you cursed? His mother screamed angrily at him. But Ekene decided to take no side. He could not believe that his sweet wife Amina, whom his mother praised, would do such a thing to his mother. Besides, he thought that his mother was at her old tricks again. But Amina did not care because she was now Mrs. Amina Ekene. And even though Mama Ifunanya had not yet hurt her, she did what she did on purpose to warn her mother in law not to ever try her. She needed her to know that she would not be easily pushed around in her husband's house. And what better way to do it than a day before their wedding? But that was not all, because barely 1 week after their wedding, Amina started showing her other true colors. She stopped greeting her mother in law. She no longer cooked food for her mother in law. And she began to lock the kitchen door when her husband went out during the day. Mama Ifunanya was starving. She tried to tell Ekene what his wife was doing to her when he was not around. But Ekene did not believe her. Instead, Ekene would simply reply and say, Mama Bikosin, are you not tired? Are you not tired? Is this not the same woman that you've been singing praises about, telling every single person that she's the best woman on earth? Mama Biko, stop this now, eh? Because Ekene said as he left his mother's presence. Mama Ifunanya sat there looking shocked and stunned. Ha! This girl has finished me. This girl has tired my son with Kayamata. This girl deceived me with her calm nature and now has turned my son against me. Ewo, anwolamo. Mama Ifunanya said out loud. Amina's wickedness to her mother-in-law continued. As a matter of fact, she no longer helped her mother-in-law to wash clothes like before. One morning, when Mama Ifunanya woke up to go and wash her clothes by herself, since her daughter-in-law had changed, but to her surprise, one of her wrappers were missing. She went into the kitchen to ask Amina if she had seen it. But lo and behold, she saw her wrapper on the floor, being used as rag. Amina, what is my clothes doing on the floor as rag? Have you lost your mind? Mama Ifunanya screamed angrily at her daughter-in-law. Amina simply smiled and said, Oh, Mama, I thought these wrappers were old. Are you still tying them? No, 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 no. You shouldn't be tying them around your waist. They are not good for anything better than to clean the floor. So I turned them to rags. You have a problem with it. Amina replied. By this time, Mama Ifunanya was running mad. She felt like attacking and beating the hell out of her. But she knew that she could not. She was no longer a young woman. And she knew that Amina was stronger and would beat the living daylight out of her. But meanwhile, Amina continued to take very good care of her husband. She would rub his feet when he came back home from work. She would massage his neck, calling him all kind of romantic pet names. She treated him like a king in front of Mama. So there was nothing Mama Ifunanya could say to Ekene about her that he would believe. Besides, her neighbors were also full of her praises because she was deliberate about being good to them. They would always look at Ekene and say, Ha, Ekene, this your wife is trying, no, she's really caring. Onya ukwa wife material, 1 million yards. They would say proudly to Ekene. Ekene was very proud of his wife. But Mama Ifunanya was boiling. She wanted to scream, Pretender, oh, this girl is pretending. But who would believe her? No one believed her because they knew her to be troublesome. So a few months later, Amina got pregnant. She shared the good news with her husband Ekene, and he was so happy. And the next thing, she convinced her husband that they should move Mama to the old abandoned house so that they could convert her room to a nursery. So one day, Ekene and his wife called his mother and said, Mama, we are pregnant, so you will soon be a grandmother. So I want to turn your room to a nursery. Our baby is coming and our baby needs space. And your room has about 3 windows. So that's the perfect room for our baby. Amina said with a wicked smile on her face. Mama Ifunanya sat up sharply. But if you turn my room to a nursery, where will I stay? He said, how does a small baby need one full room? What is happening? Mama Ifunanya asked in disbelief. Ekene simply smiled and said, Don't worry, Mama. We'll arrange the old boys' quarters for you. It's not bad though. You just need a little paint and we'll put a mattress there. Nothing too serious. You will enjoy your privacy, safe. Ekene chipped in smiling. Mama Ifunanya just swallowed hard. She could not believe that she had become a guest in her house, a house that she once ruled. She knew that all of this was Amina's doing. That night, she cried, she wept. Ah, Amina, Amina, how did I not see that this girl is a witch? Mama Ifunanya said as she wept. But Amina, on the other hand, slept like a queen because she was now in charge. A few days later, and Mama Ifunanya had no choice than to move into the boys' quarters. The mattress that Amina even gave her was flat, thin, and dusty. The walls smelt of rat urine, and the windows had no curtain. Mama Ifunanya complained, but Ekene just simply looked at her and said, Mama, just manage now, eh? Manage, Bikono. It's your grandchild that we are talking about here, oh, Ekene said. Mama Ifunanya had never felt so humiliated in her life. She, that was once the lioness of the house, now lived in an old abandoned room. Meanwhile, Amina was living like a queen in the main house, even inviting her friends over. While she was prohibited from coming into the main house, Mama was so sad. She would cry and cry non-stop. Amina even went as far as speaking to the domestic staff not to tend to her or answer her without first getting her own approval. Mama Ifunanya had tried severally to report Amina to Ekene, but Ekene did not believe her. Mama, stop complaining now. My wife is pregnant though. Do not stress her. Oh. You want her to have a miscarriage? Please, please. Ekene would reply, squeezing his face. Ekene, listen to me. Listen to me. His mother would say, crying, but Ekene did not entertain any of her complaints towards his wife. Mama Ifunanya was broken and humiliated. Her son had isolated her. One day, she sat outside at night speaking to her best friend, Mama Ngozi, who was the only one that actually believed her when she told her how her daughter-in-law had changed and treated her behind closed doors. As she complained to Mama Ngozi tried to comfort her, but then told her that it was all her fault, saying, you see, do you remember all those good girls that you were chasing away? Or Chizaramo, Machuku, Ogechi, Oluchi, Ijeoma. You chased all these good girls away. These ones that at least we know their family. We know where they are from. You chased them away. So this one that you are suffering, you built it with your own hands. So you fought the real wives, those ones that are real wife material, and you allowed the snake enter your house. Anyway, sorry. You just have to manage, oh. You just have to manage. Mama Ngozi said, trying to comfort her friend. Mama Ifunanya simply nodded and said, I agree. I agree that I'm the one that caused all this. But is it bad for a mother to want the best for her son? I only wanted what was best for my son. Eh? What did I do wrong? Mama Ifunanya said as she broke down in tears. Bia, tell yourself the truth. You did not just want the best for your son. What you wanted was control. Somebody that you could control. Now you have lost your son and you have lost that same control. Mama Ngozi replied gently. Mama Ifunanya continued living with them frustrated. But one day, she could not take it any longer. So she packed her bag and left for the village. But she dropped a note for Ekene on his bed which read, my son, I am going to the village. I cannot fight anymore. You are now a man and you've chosen your wife over me, so enjoy your home. And so, Mama Ifunanya left at dawn quietly. When Ekene woke up and saw the note, he did not know how to feel. But Amina comforted him and said, there is no problem. Other women her age, and are they not in the village? She will feel happier in the village where there is fresh air, there is fresh fruit. Your mother should actually be in the village by this age, so don't bother yourself. Amina said to her husband. So Ekene agreed and did not bother go looking after his mother. So Amina and Ekene lived happily together and gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Meanwhile, Mama Ifunanya spent the rest of her days in the village in sadness. Her son did not even bother visiting her. She remembered how her own mother-in-law had treated her badly when she was younger, and how she swore never to be that kind of mother-in-law when she grew up. But how she became the wicked mother-in-law is what she could not understand. She turned into a tormentor just like her own mother-in-law. Now, the village women who once envied her that she was living in the city in her son's house were now laughing at her behind her back. The news spread everywhere that her son had pursued her from his home because she was causing trouble in his marriage. So Mama Ifunanya spent the rest of her days in quietness and sadness. She wished that she could turn back the hands of time, but it was too late. Hi besties, it's your favorite storyteller, Omalicha. Thank you so much for watching my story to the end. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one. What do you think of Mama Ifunanya and Amina? I feel like Amina had no reason to have dealt so wickedly with Mama Ifunanya. After all, she never treated her badly. But then, Amina might just be the karma to Mama Ifunanya for all the things she did to the other young ladies in her son's life. But what do you think? Do you think Amina is the karma for Mama Ifunanya? Or do you think Amina should just have continued being a good wife? Or do you think that if she had not put her foot down like that, do you think that Mama Ifunanya would have changed in future and tried to control her home? What do you think about this story? Please share your thoughts with me in the comment section, and please support your home girl, Omalicha, by subscribing to my channel, liking my videos, and sharing with your loved ones. So now, till I come your way again with more interesting stories. Bye! Many years ago, in the beautiful city of Lagos, there lived a couple who had every single thing that people dreamt of, from money to big cars to a beautiful house. Their names were Kunle and Amaka. People usually refer to them as the power couple because they were both very rich and successful. Kunle worked with a big tech company and was always busy with meetings and reports, while Amaka worked for an international company as their marketing manager. She always had her phone in her hand and her laptop on her lap. They worked from morning to night, even on weekends. They had two beautiful children named Tolu and Dara. Their children were well behaved, but they were always alone because their parents were too busy to spend time with them. Most days, the children would eat dinner alone, play alone, and sometimes would even sleep without seeing their parents. So one night, after a long day at work, Amaka sat in the parlor with her husband, tired and annoyed. Then she looked at him and said, Kunle, I think we need help. Oh. These children are growing up really fast without anybody watching them. We need someone to stay with them and watch them during the day. Amaka said, looking worried. Then Kule replied and said, I agree. I think we should get a housemaid that can stay in the house with them and help with everything. Someone young but firm, someone that can take care of them. Kunle replied. So the next day, Amaka called a maid agency in Lagos and they promised to send someone over to her that same day. So around 5 p.m. in the evening, their doorbell rang. It was a young girl that stood at their door. Her name was Chisom. She was beautiful and just 23 years of age. Good evening, ma. Chisom greeted her new Madame Amaka. Amaka looked at her. "Ah, you're young, oh. Are you sure you know how to cook, clean, and do all that maids do?" Amaka asked, looking worried. Yes, Mao. I know how to clean, cook, take care of children. As a matter of fact, I've worked in two houses before. Chisom replied with a smile on her face. Okay then, you can start today. But you will sleep in the boys' room next to the children so that you would hear them when they wake up. And please wake up early. You see, in this house, I don't tolerate laziness. Biko. Amaka replied, Yes, ma, thank you, ma. Chisom replied excitedly. So that night, Chisom resumed her duty. She made sure that the children went to bed early and that the house was neat and everything was in order. So that night, the house was so calm. Kunle, Amaka's husband, came back from work. He was surprised to see everywhere quiet. Already, she has started working. Kunle asked, looking surprised. She's really good though. I'm surprised at the way she handled the children so professionally and firmly. Amaka replied. So they both smiled happily, thinking that they had made the right choice. So things continued like this for a while. At first, everything seemed perfect. Chisom would wake up very early. She would cook, clean, and make sure that the children looked very neat before school. She would even help Tolu with his homework and would pack Dara's lunch with extra fruit and juice. She did not talk much, but always smiled politely when Kunle or Amaka gave her instructions. She was well behaved and they liked her. Within days, Amaka was already telling everybody about this wonderful help that God had sent to her. How she was so perfect, so good, the best housemaid ever. She would look at her colleague at work and say, finally, I have peace of mind. This my new maid there, she's perfect. My house is in order. The children are clean. I literally do not have anything to worry about anymore. Amaka would say very happily. But her children, Tulu and Dara, did not feel the same way that their mother felt about this new help, Chisom. Because one evening, while Kunle and Amaka were still at work, Tolu whispered to his sister Dara and said, have you noticed that there's a way Chisom stares at us sometimes? And those are eyes, they look really scary. Tolu said, and Dara nodded. Yes, yes, I noticed it. Her eyes look scary. And can you imagine? She locked me in the room yesterday. I told her I was hungry, and she said I should keep quiet before she would turn me into a rat. Rats! Dara replied, looking scared. What? Are you serious? We need to tell mommy you. Tolu said, staring in shock. But I told mommy, but mommy said I was just lying. Dara replied, already crying. Mommy just likes this girl too much because yesterday, when I told mommy that I saw Chisom in the kitchen talking to herself with a black powder in her hand, mommy said I'm just talking nonsense, that I've watched too much cartoon. Tolu replied. So that night, after the children went to bed, Chisom stood quietly in the corridor. She watched their door without blinking. Then slowly, she walked back to her small room beside theirs. She entered inside and locked it. Then she did something strange. She brought out a small black pot from under her bed and dropped a red feather inside it. Then smoke began to rise from the pot. Tolu, Dara, you will soon be mine. Ha 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 ha. They will never listen to you. Your parents will never protect you, but I will take you one by one. You are all mine. Chisom said as she smiled wickedly. Meanwhile, in the children's room, Dara suddenly woke up. She was crying, Tolu, Tolu, there's something in the room. And Tolu immediately jumped up. What is it? What is it? I heard someone laughing in my ear. I heard someone laughing in my ear. Dara said, crying. And so they hugged themselves tightly. Let's go and tell daddy. So they both ran to their parents' room, only to find it empty. Because Kunle, their father, had traveled for work that day. And Amaka was working late and had not yet come home at midnight. The children were so scared. They waited in the parlor, hoping that someone would come back home soon. But Amaka returned around 1 a.m. and saw her children sleeping in the parlor. She just shook her head and said, why didn't this one sleep in their room? Where is that girl? Where is Chisom? Amaka said. Then Tolu immediately woke up and said, Mommy, Chisom is scary. She laughs at night. She talks to herself. Mommy. Tolu said, looking scared. Amaka simply just frowned and said, Tolu, are you not too big for this nonsense? Enough with all these stories and go back to bed. Amaka replied, but mommy, but come on, shut up and go back to bed. Amaka interjected quickly. So the children had no choice than to walk back to their rooms sadly. These children, imagination will not kill them. This is what happens when you allow children watch too many cartoons. Amaka said out loud as she headed for her room. What Amaka did not know was that Chisom, her housemaid, was busy whispering their names into the fire. She was calling her children and trying to initiate them into her satanic group. So in the days that followed, her children, Tolu and Dara, continued to live with fear. But to every other person in the house, life was normal. Chisom was still cooking delicious meals, she was still cleaning every corner of the house, and was smiling sweetly and like a good person to her madam, Amaka, and her Oga, Kunle, whenever they came back home. But what they did not know was that things were getting worse one day after the other. So one early morning, Tolu woke up. He was feeling very thirsty. So he got out of bed to head to the kitchen. But as he reached the hallway, he stopped. There was light coming out of Chisom's room, and her door was slightly open. So out of curiosity, he walked closer, then stared into her room. And to his surprise, he saw Chisom walking on the air. Her feet was not touching the ground. She was literally floating on the air. And immediately Chisom turned to him and said, "What are you doing here? Why are you awake?" Tolu could not even speak. He just turned back and ran to his room, shaking with fear. He was so scared. So the following morning, he looked at his mother and said, "Mommy, I saw Chisom. She was floating. Her leg was not touching the floor." Tolu said, looking very scared. But Amaka, as usual, simply rolled her eyes and said, Tolu, please do not start again. You and your sister have been making up stories since this young lady came. This girl has been nothing but helpful. At least now there's so much order in the house. I don't have to worry about cooking and cleaning when I come back from work. What is all this? I cannot stay with you guys. So please, you should not make her life miserable. I don't want to hear this nonsense again. If not, I will seize your cartoon privileges. You will no longer watch TV in this house. Have you heard me? Amaka said, looking upset. But mommy, I'm telling you the truth. I'm not imagining things. This lady was floating like a witch. Tolu said, looking scared. Come on, shut up. I said that is enough. What is wrong with you, Kwan? Oh, you want me to resign and come and sit down with you, Abby? You had better mind yourself. This should be the first and last time I will hear that nonsense from your mouth. Amaka replied. Tolu was so sad. He did not know why his parents could not believe him. He was not imagining things. He was saying the truth. So later that day, Dara began coughing uncontrollably. It started as a joke, but before they knew what was happening, it became so bad. So her dad, Kunle, had to rush her to the hospital. The doctor ran all sorts of tests and checked her, but found nothing wrong. Ah, sir, your daughter is perfectly fine, oh. Maybe it's stress or something spiritual, the doctor said. Spiritual, okay. There's nothing spiritual, trust me. I'm sure she's just tired. Maybe if she rests and takes some vitamin C, she'll be just fine. Kunle replied as he waved it off. When they got back home, Chisom, the housemaid, was there waiting for them at the door with a big smile. "Welcome, sir. Should I warm your food?" "Oh, no, thank you," Kunle replied. "Please just make sure that my daughter Dara gets some rest and gets enough fruits today." Kunle replied. "Yes, sir. Yes, sir," Chisom said, smiling. But that night, Dara had a dream. In that dream, she saw Chisom sitting on top of her, holding a long black snake and whispering into her ear. There were even red candles all over her, and the walls were covered with blood, and Chisom's eyes was red and glowing. Dara immediately screamed and woke up, and lo and behold, Chisom ran to her room. It's okay, Chisom said as she touched Dara's forehead. "It's just a dream. You're safe with me," Chisom replied wickedly. But Dara screamed and screamed at the top of her lungs. Leave me, go away from me." Dara screamed. But Chisom stepped back slowly and smiled and said, Oh, you do not want me to take care of you? Are you sure? Chisom replied. Dara kept on screaming, no, no, leave me, leave me, leave me. And at that point, her brother woke up and rushed to her side, holding her hand. Then he faced Chisom and said, Mommy and Daddy will hear about this. Leave us alone. Leave my sister alone. Leave me alone. Tolu shouted angrily at Chisom. Then Chisom's face suddenly changed. She became angry. Okay, tell them if you will, but they will not believe you. They will not believe you, Chisom said as she walked away angrily. So yet again, the next morning, the children told their father what happened. But Kunle simply frowned and said, Dara, it was just a dream. Chisom is not a monster. She's helping us. As a matter of fact, she was sent by God to us. If she was not with us, by now, I don't know what would have happened. Either me or your mom would have run mad. She helps us at home. Please, bear with her. Hmm? Her father replied, But Daddy, Chisom scares me. She scares me. I don't want her to live with us. Me and Tolu, we can stay alone. We can stay alone when you are both at work. Please, Dara said, already at the verge of tears. But her father simply replied firmly and said, We have told you to both stop this nonsense. This girl is helping your mother and me, so stop making up lies against her. What is wrong with you children? Eh? Kunle replied, getting upset. So yet again, their parents did not believe them and they did not even suspect Chisom of being the cause of anything in their house. But the house was gradually changing and they did not know it. So now their children did not even sleep anymore. They were always awake because they were scared that Chisom would come and kill them at night. They always whispered to themselves, holding their hands even while walking around the house, for fear that Chisom would do something to them. Yet their parents were not listening. They could not even see that their children were scared in their own house. So in just 2 weeks of Chisom's arrival, Tulu and Dara were no longer happy. They no longer smiled. They always complained of constant headaches. Dara was busy coughing all the time. They both had dark circles under their eyes. Their skin looked pale. They looked sick, as if something was draining life out of them. Yet their parents could not notice. Yes, their parents thought that they were sick because they were looking sick, and they took them to the hospital. But each time they went to the hospital, the test came back normal. So they didn't worry too much about it. The doctors kept on telling their parents that there was nothing physically wrong with them. And when the doctor asked whether they were eating well and sleeping well, Amaka would reply proudly and say, We have a maid. She cooks and takes care of them. So I believe they should be fine. Amaka would answer quickly. But the doctor stared at her and said, Madam, sometimes what a child needs is not just food and sleep. It is love and attention. Please pay attention to your children, the doctor said. But yet again, Amaka and Kunle did not take the doctor's advice seriously. One evening, while Amaka was away for a business meeting in Abuja, Kunle decided to take some days off and just stay at home with his children, seeing that his wife Amaka had traveled to Abuja. But throughout that day, Tolu refused to eat the food that Chisom cooked and gave him. He would always say, I'm not hungry, I'm not hungry. Then Chisom would reply gently and say, Habana, you have not eaten since morning. Try and eat something. Chisom would say, pretending to be nice. But Tolu was adamant. I said I don't want to eat. I do not want. He screamed angrily at her. Then immediately, Chisom stared at him in anger and said, You this boy, you are getting stubborn. No. Oh, you think because your daddy is around for a few days, you think that he will protect you, Abi? You had better be careful. You had better be careful. Chisom replied angrily. And Tolu, out of fear, ran straight to his room and locked the door. There was no need complaining to his father or reporting to him because, as usual, he would not believe him. So yet again, that night, when Tolu could not sleep because he was scared of Chisom, he just decided to look out through his window, and then he saw something terrifying. He saw Chisom at the backyard, Surrounded with red candles, she sat in a circle drawn with white chalk, and her eyes were looking somehow. It was as though she was making some incantations and enchantments. Tolu immediately screamed and then closed the window. The following morning, he woke up having a very high fever, while his sister Dara was vomiting non-stop. Kunle, their father, was so scared. He didn't even know what to do. But these children were okay yesterday. What happened? Chisom, please boil water. Find medicine. You should let us go to the hospital. Kunle said as he walked about the house looking confused. But a few minutes later, and he had not yet seen Chisom, so he went to her room to call her, thinking that she had not heard his instructions when he told her to boil water. So immediately Kunle went to her room and opened the door. He didn't see her there. But to his uttermost shock, he saw strange drawings, symbols, written in white powder, even saw feathers stuck to his walls, and a goat skull sitting under her bed in the room. What is all this? Kunle said, looking shocked. Then suddenly, he heard his son's voice crying out to him, Daddy, Daddy, Dara is not breathing. She's not breathing. So Kunle immediately ran to their room. He saw Dara lying on the bed and looking as though she was at the point of death. By this time, Tolu was screaming and crying out her name. Kunle was so scared. He didn't know what to do. He just picked up his phone and called his wife. Amaka, Amaka, you need to leave whatever you're doing in Abuja and come back home now. Something is wrong. Something is wrong in this house. What these children were saying is true. Something is wrong. Kunle said, looking very scared. So a few hours later, Amaka was back. She entered the house. She saw her children looking very sick. She saw all the drawings in Chisom's room. And then it dawned on her that all that her children had been saying this time was actually true. So she immediately called their pastor, Pastor Nathaniel. So a few hours later, Pastor Nathaniel arrived at night. As he entered the house, they all heard a very loud, angry cry coming from Chisom's room. But she was not even there. Nobody had seen her. Pastor Nathaniel simply looked around and said, this house is under heavy darkness. This your maid, though, she's not just ordinary. She's not an ordinary witch. She's the queen of the coast, Pastor Nathaniel said. And just as the words came out of his mouth, all the lights in their house suddenly went off, and the candles in Chisom's room lit themselves. Then immediately Chisom appeared. She was standing in the hallway. She was dressed in black, and by this time her eyes had turned fully white. Oh, you called a pastor? For who? For me? You did not need to. You left your children for me, so they now belong to me. So why are you calling a pastor? Chisom said, looking very upset. Then Pastor Nathaniel stepped forward and said, not today. You spirit of darkness, you have no power here. Then he began to pray in tongues, and the house began to shake like thunder had hit it. And Chisom screamed. She began to manifest all sorts of manifestations. But she kept on screaming and crying. You left them for me. You gave them to me. They are legally mine. They are legally mine. She screamed as she pointed to Amaka and Kunle. But Pastor Nathaniel kept on firing prayers, kept on praying and kabashing. And in a matter of seconds, Chisom fell to the ground. The candle lights went off, and then she disappeared. And then the normal light in the house came back. And when they looked around, they could not see her. Chisom was gone forever. No one ever saw her again. And for the first time in a long time, Tulu and Dara slept very peacefully. The following morning, when they woke up, they were so happy. They ran to their parents and hugged them. They already felt better. They had miraculously recovered from their sickness. Kunle, their father, pulled them very closely. He felt so guilty. He could not believe that he had almost lost his children, not because of poverty or because of sickness, but because him and his wife were too busy looking for money that they could not take care of their own children. Amaka at this point fell to her knees to beg her children and then said, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. We should have listened to you. You told me severally that this girl was a witch, But I did not believe you. I thought you were just making up stories because you did not want a housemate to live with us. I'm so sorry. I promise you that going forward, I would never take your words carelessly. I would always believe what you tell me, Amaka said. Then Tolu smiled gently and looked at his mom and said, Mommy, we are glad that everything is over. We are just happy. But a few days later, Kunle got a call from his office and he was informed that he had lost his job, that they had decided to let him go. When Kunle got the news, at first he felt very ashamed of himself because he had always been the kind of man that provided. But then when he saw his children, the way they were playing in the parlor, the way they were happy, he was happy. He did not mind being jobless. He preferred to stay at home with his children and take good care of them than to leave them with a witch who made their life miserable. So later that evening, Kunle and Amaka sat together. They brainstormed. They both decided that Kunle would stay at home to be present for their children and raise the children, while Amaka could go out and work since she earned enough to take care of the whole household. They both agreed that they were never going to be absent parents in the lives of their children anymore. So their house became very peaceful. Kunle began to do school runs. He would help his children with their homework. He even learned how to braid his daughter's hair. Amaka, on the other hand, tried to be more present. She began working from home more often. She stopped traveling as before. And they began to spend quality time with their children during the weekends. And they were once again very happy. One Saturday, while the whole family was eating breakfast, which their dad had prepared, Tolu looked up lovingly at his father and said, Daddy, this food is so delicious. You're the best maid ever. And they all busted out into laughter. Hi, besties. It's your favorite storyteller, Omalicha. Thank you so much for watching my story to the end. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one. What do you think of parents who do not listen to their children? Like, how can you trust a maid more than your own child? Please share your thoughts with me and please support your home girl, Omalicha, by subscribing to my channel, liking my videos, and sharing with your loved ones. So now, till I come your way again with more interesting stories. Bye.